All right, I'm live again. I'm just going to adjust some things here so we can take a look at the board. But I just want to welcome everybody. It's Thursday afternoon. Um, Busy week. Things are a little bit crazy in my house. Just had to pick up my son from school a little early today, so forgive me if there's some background noise or if I have like a little kid come running in. Again, it's all part of life, 50-50. We got to make sure we got all these things handled. I'm really excited this month. I'm diving into a topic I really love, which is um, goal setting. But the idea of goal setting around failure and confidence. How do we build confidence? How do we overcome failure? How do we overcome adversity? What are the first steps? I always think, I'm sorry, I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. I always think that, the best way to build confidence, a lot of people talk about confidence on its own, but I don't think that's really fair. Failure and confidence go hand in hand, right? Like you can't have one without the other. And that's really what I want to dive into this month. So it's not just about how do you build confidence, because confidence really is just a byproduct. It's how do you deal with failure? How do you overcome obstacles? How can you accomplish a goal so that then you can feel confident? I'm going to start with just the definition of confidence, right? And I like this. There's a few different ones out there. I'm just going to read some out. One of them is just a feeling of one's consciousness and one's power or one's reliance on their circumstances. I have no idea what that means. Okay, that's like, Beth had perfect confidence in her ability to succeed. Meh. What does that mean, right? Like she knows about the outcome, and I don't think a lot of us feel that way when we're starting something, right? But the one I like is the quality and state of being certain, right? And it's a state. You're in a position where you're certain because you know the result that's you're expecting. And this is why I think confidence is a little bit overrated. Um, we're confident in a lot of different things. So, write down right now, question of the day, what are you supremely confident on? Like, think about that for a second. What can I come to you if I was to call you tomorrow and say, hey, I need help on this? What's the one thing that you feel supremely confident you could help me with? Right? And that's where I kind of come from when I talk confidence. Because when I speak of confidence, you don't get confidence without passing through a trial, through a journey, through learning something new, right? And with that comes failure. So that's why I'm putting these two together. And what I'm going to do this month is treat this more like a workshop. I want you, if you're watching live right now, so if you are watching live, definitely drop in a hi or, following where you're following from, hit the heart button. But if you're watching this on a replay, I want this to be valuable for you later, something you can go back on and review, right? So I'm going to look at the 5 steps of building confidence, right? What you need to do in order to, at the end of the project, say, hey, you know what, I'm really confident that I could do this again, that I could repeat this, okay? And confidence, and I'm going to get into this in some of the later lives this month, but confidence and self-confidence are a little bit different, and I'm just going to really talk about confidence right now. One of the weeks I'm going to dive into the discrepancies between the two, because self-confidence is super important when you don't have confidence, okay? So I'm going to start with Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan's, he in his book, The 4 C's Formula, so I'm going to write Dan here. Dan Sullivan. He has a book called The 4 C's, right? The 4 C's Formula, okay? And in this 4 C's formula, he talks about the 4 steps that you need in order to build confidence. The first one's commitment. The second one is courage. The third one's capability. And the fourth one is finally confidence. So there's commitment. So I'm just going to say commit. The second one is courage. Right? Then there's capability. So capable. And then the final one is confidence. And I think this is really cool. It's a great little 4 words to kind of put down when you're building a goal, when you're trying to accomplish something that's hard, right? The first one being commit, and that's where I'm going to lead us into kind of the 5 steps. What are typically the 5 steps to building confidence, right? And what does that mean to you once you're kind of on it? So the first one, and I'm going to break it up into stages because I think the stages are very important. I think we start a lot of things off very excited, right? How many of us start off New Year's resolutions or, a renovation or something that's exciting? You're like, I want to learn how to play guitar. I want to, learn how to skateboard, or I want to, like I said, demo my bathroom. How do you take that idea, build the plan, execute the plan, and get that result, right? So at the end, you feel confident. So let's talk about what I'm going to call the 5 stages, right? And the first one is having a goal, right? A goal or an objective. And what's the difference between a goal and objective? Nothing. What do you want to accomplish? Really, that's what that is, right? This ties in really great to commitment piece, because in this stage is really where you're weighing how important something is, right? What's the goal? Is it a big goal? Is it a little goal? Are you trying to lose 10 pounds, or are you trying to get the courage up to, ask a girl out? Or, are you trying to get that raise, or are you looking at changing careers? That's all the goal aspect, right? And they're small and they're large, right? The second one that I have is, this is kind of the pre-planning stage, right? So this is pre-planning. Engineer friends would call this, my engineer design friends would call this ideation phase, right? And this is great. This is where you brainstorm, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can go there, and I can touch this. And I think there's a lot of that gets you really excited, pumped, right? So the first ones, these two here, are really where that commitment piece comes in, right? I always say this is the fun part, right? This is fun. This is the daydreaming, right? We all love to daydream. Where do I want to retire to? Like if I had the perfect house, what would it look like? Those kind of things. What's my dream job? All of those things kind of coming together, right? And the third part is after the ideation is really the planning. Here is where you write out your steps, right? This is where you kind of look for tools, right? If it's a skill, maybe you're looking for teachers here, right? This is the best place, in my opinion, to call a coach, right? if you're talking about a life change or something significant that's going to be big. But I'm biased. I think this is the best place to go. And in my polls with most men, they just blow through this. They're just like, let's get to the doing part, which leads us to number 4. Right? Number 4 is the doing, right? And I'm going to put this in red. This is the part we'll get into further detail in further weeks, but this is the fail part, okay? And there's that old acronym. What does FAIL stand for, right? First attempt in learning, right? And this process, so the process here is usually the fun part. It's the part that we think takes the most amount of time, but in reality, it's the easy part. We knock this out very quickly, right? When we get to the second step in the 4 C's formula here, courage, this is where you need courage. You need courage when it's time to try and fail, okay? And what this looks like, it's different for everybody. It's different for every project. It's different for every objective that you're trying to do. As you're trying to learn, you're going to fail. And the more foreign it is to you, and the scarier the goal, the more you're going to fail, right? So there's first attempt at learning. There's second attempt in learning. Third. All the way into the point where you accomplish what you accomplish, okay? And you don't know at the end here, right? Number 5, This is success, right? So down here, the byproduct of all these steps, right? The byproduct of all these steps inevitably is success, or can anyone guess the other option is? It's quit, right? But quit comes after each one of these. So when I do my little diagram, you have option to quit number 1, option to quit here, option to quit here. Okay? So this is it. This is pretty much it, right? So you've got the 4 C's, right? Kind of the outline: commit, courage, capable, right? Capability comes from iterating this multiple times. And finally, success. In each one of these steps, you have the option to quit, right? And we do it all the time, right? I'm currently in the middle of a 30-day challenge, right? I have tried this challenge multiple times in the last 60 days, and the furthest I've taken this is 8 days, right? I'm on day 11 now, and I'm not even halfway through, and my brain is already telling me it's time to quit, right? My brain is coming in and saying, you have nothing to prove. You've already done it. But what I'm looking for is that confidence. What I'm looking for is that what my objective is for me, for this challenge, is I want better integrity with myself. That's my objective. More integrity with myself. And so therefore this 30-day challenge is important to me. And so every time my brain comes up and says, you know what, it's time to quit, I have to go back and say, you know what, let's check in. I failed once already at this. I failed twice at this. I'm already a third of the way through. What do I need to do right now to keep this momentum going, to follow through on this plan, right? And it's the question you really need for all of your goals and objectives and everything else, right? So I'm going to leave you guys with this, right? Snapshot with this. What I'm offering for this month, for anybody who's watching these videos, for the month of May and into the first week of June, I'm offering a free 45-minute strategy session, okay? One-on-one with me, where I will walk you through these first steps and help you build that playbook, that outline for how to achieve success in whatever goal you're trying to accomplish or objective. Is it to lose weight? Is it to moderate your drinking? Is it to start up, is it to look at a new career path? Is it on, building a better relationship with your children? Maybe it's something as simple as what I talked about back in February, which was anger. How to overcome your anger, right? And I'll sit with you for 45 minutes. We'll brainstorm. We'll bat it back and forth. I'll be that set of eyes that you can't objectively look at your plan with. And we can come up with these first 3 steps, right? What are the steps you're going to need, the tools, who are the teachers you need to look for, right? This part is all, I'm sorry to say, this is all to you. And it's always, right? The fail and try again, fail and try again, fail and try again. Without pulling the chutes, as my friend Paul Wilson also said, pulling the chutes to quitting, right? Okay, so if you're interested, if this piqued your interest, my challenge for you this week, I like to leave everybody with a challenge at the end of these, is to go out and pick a goal or objective and walk through these steps. And when you get to this point, ask yourself, okay, how am I going to handle a failure at each part? Do I have the commitment? What's my commitment to this goal? The courage is actually taking the first step of doing and failing, right? Will you do it enough times where you feel that you're starting to build capability on it till you finally the byproduct of confidence? So if you guys have any questions, this one was a lot more actionable, a lot of information here today. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below or DM me personally. If you want, go to my website, www.petebeskus.com, okay? You can sign up for that free 45-minute session there. I have it active until the end of, I think, the first week of June. So book a call if you just want to talk, if you just want to brainstorm some ideas. That's what I'm here for. I love doing that. I think it's a really powerful, objective. I've had a lot of fun doing it with a lot of my, peers and other coaches and other clients as well. So just getting on a strategy session can just open your eyes up to something. So take advantage of it, guys. Don't just let it go by the wayside. If you're even thinking about it, man, I'd love to help you. So I'll leave you for that. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week when I'm going to dive into the first part here. This part, the fail, right? The courage and the fail part, okay? So I'll see everyone next week, and have a great one. Bye.